Cimoooooooo! What's going on, guys? It's Cimo, and today I have a deck profile that a lot of you guys have been requesting. We have Dominik Gabrans' top 8 zombie deck profile. This is really exciting. I have Dominik on the line to be able to discuss some of his insights into this deck. Dominik, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Dominik Gabrans, and I'm from Netherlands, but I was born in Latvia, and like basically I traveled a little. And this is actually one of my first tops in any kind of serious tournament.
Well, congratulations for that. I think a lot of people were just rooting for you as like the rogue Cinderella story to take on the Adamancipator Eldritch threat. But let's go ahead and talk about the deck a little bit. First off, why did you want to play this deck in the first place?
I have this deck in real life, besides, of course, the most expensive cards like Extravagance and stuff. And
Sure.
I was thinking first maybe play my to-go deck, like my love Blackwings, but while playtesting on Dueling Book a little, I came across that the even negate combos is nice and all, but it's very vulnerable to hand traps, of course Nibiru, and it bricks a lot basically. so I chose to go with something that I'm just familiar with, because I have practiced Emancipators, but I wasn't confident enough with it, and I didn't exactly know all the lines of play, so I just went with something that I'm comfortable with and I have a lot of experience playing with.
Sure. So admittedly, funny story, when I first was going through the top 16 and making the pie chart, I saw Golden Lord in your deck here, and I'm like, oh, it's another Eldritch deck. And then you messaged me, you're like, hey, I'm actually not playing Eldritch, I'm playing zombies, but Eldritch is a zombie card. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. And so that was what was really piqued my curiosity here. So for those of people who aren't familiar with this deck, what is your win condition? What is your deck trying to do?
I mean, it's mostly just a control deck. The win condition is Zombie World Doom King, and then if my opponent doesn't get past this, I just keep summoning more uni-zombies, more monsters, and I make link plays or just OTK, or just keep the control with stuff like Rivalry or Called by the Grave to out the board's Super Poly.
Sure. So one of the interesting parts of the Crush Card Cup was that we had what I like to call an adaptive format. So basically people were allowed to change their decks in between rounds all the way up until Top Cut. But if a new product was released, that product would then just be legal for the event. So like Mechanized Madness became legal, Eternity Code became legal. And so people kind of had to on the fly change up their deck, and potentially there was some like counter picking and stuff as well. So it was a very interesting aspect. And you said that this version of the list actually is a lot different than what you played initially. Talk about that a little.
First, I had decks like the Instant Fusion, Thousand Eyes, or Millennium Eyes Restrict in it. Dark Rulers were not in the main deck; they were just in the side deck. Evenly were still in the main deck because, yeah, this is a control deck and it does have problems outing big boards and everything. Stuff like Dinomishus also was not even in main or side deck. It was basically a last moment of choice pick. The anti-magic arrows deck was not in the deck and was picked solely for the top 16 because there to be a lot of Eldritch, and yeah, well, you saw during the top 16 how devastating Crispina and anti-magic arrows is.
Yeah, very deadly combo. So before we go any further, let's go ahead and just give people a rundown of the contents of the main deck. So we've got 2 Ash Blossom, 2 Doom King Baller Jock, we've got 2 Eldritch the Golden Lord, 2 Glow Up Bloom, a Gozuki, a Jack-O-Bolin, 2 Mizuki, 2 Necroworld Banshee, 2 Shiranui Solitaire, 3 Unizombie, a Vampire Fraulein, a double Call by the Grave, Cosmic Cyclone, 2 Dark Ruler No More, Foolish Burial, triple Extravagance, 2 Super Polymerization, triple Zombie World, then we had 2 Evenly Matched, 2 Dinomishus, and 2 Rivalry of Warlords. Definitely get the control feel from this a lot with some of the picks here. So why don't you discuss some of the zombie cards individually for people who might not be familiar with them?
Well, I mean, everyone knows Ash basically is just a good hand trap that holds.
And it's a zombie.
Yeah, actually, that's basically the reason why it's still in the deck, because at least to my feel, Ash these days, Ash kind of falls off a little because, like, for example, the Emancipator. Okay, you Ash needle fiber, and they just go into block and they go from there. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Or Eldritch can't summon from deck; they're just gonna summon from hand or something.
Sure.
But it's still in the deck because if Doom King is on the field and they do get rid of a zombie world with Cosmic or anything, and you chain Ash to something that adds or summons out of deck, you can chain Doom King's effect because Ash is a zombie, and then you might banish something from their field. Well, Doom King is the big guy of the deck, and he's the reason that the deck is even viable because he has two forms of disruption: a negation if a zombie monster activates effect, and you can banish a monster from either field or graveyard. It's non-targetable, which is amazing, and of course his very obnoxious recursion to the field. A field spells on the board doesn't even need to be a zombie world.
Right.
Well, Eldritch. I decided to just play 2 Eldritch without traps, also because he's a zombie, but also it's a good out against problematic cards. For example, there can be only one if I'm playing against Floodgates, or it can just bait out a negation by discarding something unnecessary like a second zombie world or anything. And he also helps with the OTKs because just send the zombie world from field to the graveyard and get a 3500 beat stick on field. Well, Glow Up Bloom is what makes this deck consistent, and in bringing out Doom King, if you just send to the graveyard, you can banish him and summon any level 5 or higher zombie from your deck to your field if your zombie world is on the field. Or you just add it. Sometimes I had to use the add effect to add the Golden Lord and use his Golden Lord send effect to get rid of a problematic card. Gozuki is just a 4th Uni-Zombie basically, but it has other niche effects that if it's sent to the graveyard, you can banish a different zombie from him and summon a zombie out of hand, what I did in the top 16 cut to get to Trisbana.
Right.
Jacob Olin is a nice extra. It has an effect that you can special summon it by discarding 1 zombie monster, so like a Tricky or something like that. Its effect during opponent's main phase, the quick effect, you can target 1 zombie monster in either player's graveyard, has synergy with Zombie World, because then you can disrupt your opponent by summoning something out of their graveyard to your field. And it's also very nice, the monster that he summons gets banished afterwards, so your opponent can't get it back. Also, its effect can force Doom King's banish. So, for example, as with Ash, if the zombie world is not in the field anymore, I'm just gonna chain Jacob Olin on any of my other zombies, and Doom King's just gonna banish something from my opponent's field or grave. Mizuki is just a very good recursion or an extender. Banshee is the fastest way to get to zombie world. That's why terraforming is not necessary. Solitaire is just 2 extra copies of Uni-Zombie. I decided to play 2 Solitaires instead of 3 because in my early days of playing Zombie, I played 3 Solitaire, 3 Uni-Zombie, and then I came across that I opened a lot of Uni-Zombie and Solitaire, 3 out of my 6 cards in hand are Uni-Zombie or Solitaire, and 3 openers with 1 normal summon is not good. Vampire Fraulein is a very spicy tech card. It's amazing. Sure. I love it because one, it can stop your opponents from OTKing you. If they cleared your board and they're like, okay, Borosword OTK, and they declare attack, you summon Fraulein, and then you just pay a 3,000 life points or something, and you're still alive, and your opponent just used their OTK potential. And the other thing is it can help you get rid of big beat stakes like Boros Savage with 4,000 or something. And its other effect sometimes comes in handy, that when Fraulein herself kills a monster by battle, you can special summon the monster on your field as a zombie, like Goyo Guardian.
Yeah, we got to see this in one of your feature matches as well, and it was very impressive to say the least.
The OTK with the Draco Necro and Vampire Fraulein was something I actually discovered a little myself on my own locals while I was playing. I just had a Fraulein and I used my opponent's monsters with Super Poly to make a Draco Necro. And then I just read my cards for a minute, and then I was like, okay, this is an instant OTK. Dark Ruler and Evenly just have the same purpose. if I don't win the dice roll, I need to have something to be able to play against my opponent's board, else I might just scoop it. Super Poly, of course, outs. Too much stuff is too broken, and also good disruption if you go first and have Zombie World. Well, Tree of Zombie World, it's just the most necessary card, else half of your control is not going to work. Dynamicious was something as I said, I chose as a last minute for my top 16, and that's because I was thinking I had like some space left. I didn't want to play Tree of Dark Ruin evenly because in my opinion, like if I open a lot of going second cards and without like any Unizombie over there, I'm just gonna break the board, but then nothing's gonna happen.
Sure.
Well, Dynamicious was actually the perfect answer to like both Eldritch and Adamantipator in my opinion, because like against Eldritch it's a Cosmic Cyclone, and against Adamantipator it's a Karma Cut on the Block Dragon. And the best part is it's not a cost, so if they negate it, you don't lose anything. And Rivalry is, of course, just the unfair Zombie World Rivalry lock. I mean, this card basically is the reason why I beat my combo deck matchups like Rocket or Adamantipator.
Let's quickly go over the extra deck here. We've got triple Drago, Necro, Nether Soul, Dragon. We've got Earth Golem, Adignister, and Mud Dragon of the Swamp for your Super Poly targets. One Dweller, one Avendred Savior, Boral Sword, Crystron, Needle Fiber. We've got IP Masquerena, Nightmare Phoenix, Link Karibo, Relinquish Anima, and 2 copies of Vampire Sucker. I'd say most of this is cards people are pretty familiar with. We can cover like the zombie-specific ones, I suppose. So let's start with Dragon, Necro, Nether Soul, Dragon.
I mean, his effect is a very good combination with Fraulein, but that's not why he is not in the deck, of course. It's just because his summoning requirements are 2 zombie monsters, and Zombie World plus Super Poly basically means get rid of 2 enemy monsters on the field.
Exactly.
It's a 3-off. Normally it's like a 1 or a 2-off, but in this case it's a 3-off because of extravagance. Because like if I play only 1 or 2 and banish them, then Super Poly is almost dead. The Adignister was also the last minute change for the top 16, because first it was Starving Venom, because when after just the ban list, people still played like most of the times decks that have dark monsters or anything like that. And then when Adamantipator came in play, first they ended up their end boards were most of the time synchros, but lately they start choosing to end up with the Apollousa and Masquerena, which are very good cards. And a 3-negate Apollousa against zombie, that's basically already enough to stop my plays most of the times. And so I decided to play him because he was played a lot during the Spiral format when they made the Unbreakable board. Well, the Avenged Savior is just basically an extra Foolish Burial that sends for cost. So even if they like impermanence you and you don't get to lower your opponent's attack, you just for cost Foolish Burial. And Sucker, normally I normally play it as a 1-off, but since Extravagance I play it as a 2-off because this card actually helps a lot. Sometimes during sometimes you can just if it's simplified game state, you can revive your opponent's most weak monster from their graveyard to just get a draw and just beat over it if you're not going to make game anyways. And its effect that to draw when a zombie monster gets summoned is a very good combination with Doom King, because like your Doom King gets summoned during your opponent's standby phase from your graveyard, and you can banish something that already is on the field but there's a problem. Also, the honorable mention effect is for her first actual effect. If you would tribute a monster for a tribute summon, you can tribute a zombie monsters your opponent controls, even though you don't control them. This effect actually came up once against my Guru matchup. It was a very simplified game today. It was Rivalry, and there can be only one. So we literally just both kept on one monster, and that's it. But he chose to have a face-up... I don't know the name of it, but the Subterror, that's the big one, the one-off, the one. The
Omostrix.
Yeah, that one. He chose to keep him face up on the field. I don't know why, and he didn't banish my Sucker for some reason. I think he was afraid that with that monster on field, I can just summon Doom King and go from there. And then I just was like, okay, tribute summon a sucker and his big monster for face down Doom King because of the Camille rivalry.
Sure. So let's go to the side deck now. We have a Pancratops, a Chopologic Trusbania paired with the 3 anti-magic arrows, the 3rd Called by the Grave, 2 Cosmic Cyclone, 3 Lightning Storm, a 3rd Evenly Match, Imperial Order, and 2 copies of Royal Decree. Anything you want to discuss here?
Yeah. As I said before, Trusbania and anti-magic arrows, the best combo ever against Eldritch or any other back row decks. Order is against any spell-heavy matchups, for example, like Pendulum or the earlier versions of the Emancipator that played the Go version. Royal Decree is actually a sneaky win conditions against Eldritch, because if I have a Royal Decree and Doom King on field, they almost can't out it, except if they play the combo Needle Fiber version, because Royal Decree just says no traps, so they can't get them to grave or summon them even, and Doom King is going to prevent Eldritch from ever using any use of his effect. If they use Descent to grave effect, I'm just going to negate it, and when they try to add it back to hand and maybe summon it, I can just use Doom King to banish it from grave.
Dominik, thank you so much for taking the time to go over your deck list. Congratulations on top 8. Any final thoughts or shout-outs you want to give before we wrap things up?
Yeah, I want to give a shout-out to one of my friends, Galhad711, that he helped me with submitting this final deck list for the top 16. Because the stuff, Dynamiscuses were first strikes, but then while I talked over with him, strikes are not very useful, and then I just remembered about the Nemesis. And my other good friend, Michael Rogers, from my locals, I play with him a lot, so I can still practice. And with him, playing with him, it's always think work, so I always find some plays that I normally don't make. And that would be it. Awesome.
Dominik, thank you again so much. Guys, thank you so much for watching the video. Really hope you enjoyed this insight into this top 8 zombie list. Be sure to check out all the rest of the Crush Card Cup feature matches and deck profiles over on the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.